Hello, family, friends, and fans. I'm Fletcher Roden, and this is Fletch Me Anything. It's a 2 week return of the venerable old internet show that I used to do a few years ago, basically to celebrate my new record, City of Eternal Spring. 10 brand new songs written and recorded right here in Medellin, Colombia. It's available wherever you like to download your favorite music. You can download mine. Okay, so if you want to hear more about my new record, City of Eternal Spring, you can watch my other mini series going on this YouTube channel through May and June and into July. That's called City of Eternal Spring, track by track. So you can learn more about it. But if you want to hear the whole thing, or rather look at it, you can go below this video where there's a link to the YouTube presentation of the full album. The full album playlist is on YouTube for free. So you can check it out. You'll listen, but also you'll be looking at a picture of the cover, which I think is pretty cool. So do that and then download the thing in MP3. I think they're actually WAV files. So download them and enjoy them and keep watching this little show. So, Fletch Me Anything. Here we go. I've been talking about my slow travels through Latin America. And I did a webisode here about how friendly the people are and how it can be dangerous, but you got to be careful. Well, okay, that's true. But let's be fair. When the crime hits, it's pretty bad. Now, there's a small amount, there's a big amount, I should say, of small petty crime in places. Any tourist town, like Cuenca, Ecuador, for example, or Quito, which isn't really a tourist town, but in your tourist towns, you got pickpockets. Here in Medellin, that happens a lot. They're very good at it. They do a thing where, one guy will bump you, and then his partner swipes your phone or your wallet during the bump. So if you go to that guy and say, "Hey, you bumped me, where's my wallet?" He doesn't have your wallet. He's already handed it over to someone else, who, by the way, has already handed it over to somebody else. So it's not like a grab and run. Uh, it's they have a they're like you know coordinated. So he grabs your phone, hands it to someone else. That person walks 2 feet, hands it to someone else, who goes into the store, hands it to someone else, who walks to the back of the store, and then the thing is gone. So that happens a lot. You got to be careful of that. But be careful, if you're in a big city and anybody bumps into you, you got to be careful. I traveled all through Europe, and everyone was saying, "Hey, watch out! You're a tourist. They're gonna, they have a thing where a kid comes up and begs for money, and while you're distracted by the kid, someone else robs you from behind." It happens. Pickpocketing, petty crime, that happens. Here, the bigger crimes are your kidnappings. These happen a good amount, and they happen here in Colombia. They happen in Ecuador. The problem is, uh, you're known to if you're a gringo, and even if you're not, you could have money, but if you're a gringo, you almost certainly do. That's the preconception, and therefore, someone will pay to get you back. It's the kidnap classic. I mean, you know, they want money, and what they'll do is they'll either get a woman into your apartment, and then she calls them in, and she lets them in, and then they own you, and they tie you up and keep you there for a week while they run up your credit cards and wait for your family to send over 10 grand. And then you may be released or you may not be released. It's pretty bad. It's a bad scene. That's something I'm terrified of. They do it in Mexico. You can be kidnapped by the police or by the cartels. Very common. Very common here. Women are often involved in it. They'll dope you up. You'll go to a bar, they'll put some scopamine in your drink, or they'll have a drink and say, "Oh, I can't finish this, you finish it." And there's drugs in it. And the drugs just make you black out. But you're compliant while you're on the drugs. So they can take you to the ATM machine. It's like a drug that's sort of a truth serum drug. And they'll take you to the ATM. What's your number? You're going to give it to them, and they're going to clean you out of that 500, which is all they can get. But then they're going to go back the next day because they're holding on to you. You're like a living ATM machine. I've seen. It's not always scopolamine either, though. I saw a video not long ago of someone in Ecuador, actually, a kid who was walking, and a van pulls up, and men burst out dressed as cops, and they rush this kid. He runs. They chase him. They grab him and they drag him, kicking and screaming, into their van and drive away. That was bad. I heard a story of a woman who or it was a guy, I think, a man, who was in a car, and the driver, like an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, one of those things, stopped at a store to get something, and then the guy was in the car waiting for the driver, and kidnappers rush up, get into the car, and drive off with him. So that's not good. But there are ways here. Let me give you some tips that I've come across to avoid being kidnapped. I was almost kidnapped here in Colombia as soon as I got off the plane. Never get in, never get into an unmarked car. First of all, people say, "Well, yeah, I'm a Lyft driver." I wouldn't take a Lyft. A lot of people do. They take Lyfts, they take Uber here, but I don't, and I'm not going to. I wouldn't take an Uber in the U.S. Okay, uh, take a cab, take a marked cab. There are plenty of them. Don't get and I just come off the plane, so I had everything I owned with me, and everybody, all the kidnappers knew it. I walked out of the terminal, and there were five of these guys, each offering me a drive to my airport hotel, which was less than 2 miles away. They each wanted to charge me 1,500 Colombian pesos because it was going to be 45 minutes, but it wasn't. And once I got into one of those cars, I wasn't going to get out of my own volition. So be thoughtful. Be careful of where you're going. Don't stay where there's traffic, because if it's crowded streets, they can't hustle you into a van and speed off. What they want to do is grab you and disappear. So if that's an open highway or a place where there's nobody around and it's empty streets, that's dangerous. But if there's enough street traffic, then it's not, because they're not going to kidnap you and then sit in traffic. Doesn't make any sense. So you want to watch out for that. You want to watch out for don't stop. If you're being driven somewhere, don't stop at a convenience store. That's stupid. Don't do it. Tell him no. Tell him he can get what he needs when you're done. Tell him you don't need anything, and neither does he. Uh, I had a driver bring me back from the airport who said, "You want to stop and take a picture?" It was a very nice place to take a picture. I'm sure a lot of people like to take a picture there, but I didn't want to. So don't do that. Don't go to the bars. Don't go if you're looking for a bar town. Medellin ain't your town. I mean, there are lots of bars here, but it's just too dangerous. If you want to, I was talking to a guy who wanted to go. He wanted to smash, which was, I guess, slang for having sex. He wanted to meet some chicks and smash. And I said, "Dude, go to Cancun. Take a cruise. Take a singles cruise. Go to Miami Beach. You want to smash? Don't do it here. You're begging to be robbed, and worse, maybe kidnapped. Imagine how terrible that would be. You're powerless. You're helpless. They're going to take all your money, and then maybe pull your teeth out. Maybe set you on fire. There was a crime here not long ago. I believe it was Ecuador, where a fella had been arrested for suspicion of murdering an Ecuadorian. And what happened is the locals stormed the police station, okay, dragged the guy bodily out of the police station, threw him into a van, took him several miles away, beat him, and set fire to him. There's a lot of street justice here in Latin America. If you try to mug somebody, you're apt to be intercepted by a citizen and then maybe beaten to death by that citizen and their friends who come pouring out of the buildings just to get in on the beatdown. And that makes it a little bit safer. If you're not a criminal, that won't happen to you. But this guy who got dragged out of the police station and set on fire, I don't know if he really truly did kill a person, or if he did, maybe it was in self-defense, He didn't have any due process. Um, they administered their own justice. So that's not great. But that guy was, suspected of killing somebody. So I guess that happens. But you don't kill anybody. But also don't be a fool. Don't no dar papaya. Don't give yourself away. Don't make yourself a victim. Um, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I think that these places are pretty safe. There are spots in Cuenca I'd walk around at night. Be where there's people. If there's no people, then why are you out? All right, so that's it. Latin America. There is crime, and it is a specific type of crime. Be careful. Watch your back while you're here. Keep your head on a swivel. Excuse me. But other than that, there's no reason you shouldn't have a lovely time because Colombianos are great, and Latin Americans in general are great. Okay, that's it for today's Fletch Me Anything. Tune in again. This is a limited 2-week run celebrating my new album, City of Eternal Spring. Download it wherever you like to download your favorite music. You can download mine. Oops. Tune in again for another episode of this. Watch my other shows too. Tune in again, and until then, bye, Mary.